Another sloppy home loss for the Boston Celtics. Who could have seen that coming? Well, at least we've got a new Celtic to talk about, Torrey Craig. It's all right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Yup. Beantown, be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Back to back, if I say it, it's stamped. Locked on number 19, the best one, the next one. Juice loose in your pool now for the next run. It's the C's, who else could it be? What they gon' say now? Screaming like JT, Karalis, recap the madness. Every game, every practice. Best daily pod, no cap like Brad Beckett. Clutch like Drew to KP, tap in daily. Prime time, dapping D White on the sideline. Raining Jace, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast. It's right here in the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. I got you every day, Monday through Friday, with this new, free, fresh Locked On Celtics podcast. If you're subscribed, it gets dropped directly to your device, so you can listen whenever you want. You can watch a show on YouTube, get into the comment section. Let me know what you're thinking about the game and all that stuff there. I'm John Karalis. If you're new to the show, I've been covering the Celtics for about 20 years, doing it now as a beat writer for Boston Sports Journal. Today's show brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase of tickets to whatever events that you want to go to. Celtics lose to the Dallas Mavericks. Of course they lost. It's the first game home after a road trip. They lose those games this year. We'll talk about that. The pattern, the same old pattern. Jayson Tatum, maybe the worst game he's played all season, and I'll save my thoughts for that in a bit. A bad bench performance until a great bench performance at the end, and all of that stuff is coming up later on. We'll talk about the Celtics signing Torrey Craig on the buyout market. Brad Stevens talked before the game, so I'll talk about all of that stuff. Let's just start at the top, man. A lot of the same stuff that we've seen out of the Celtics. They came out. I don't even want to say they came out poor. Like, I thought they came out fine. I think when I talk about the same pattern, thought the Celtics came out fine. They weren't playing great defense on Klay Thompson, and he got going early in the first quarter, 10 points in the first quarter. But it wasn't until the Celtics really started turning the ball over that things got a little bit sloppy, a little bit out of control there early in the game. But they come out and they're okay. They miss some shots, and then they start to get a little sloppy. And then the sloppiness turns into a complete loss of focus. And then you get things like fouls. And then in the second half, it all starts to fall apart, because their lack of focus is now met with frustration and a lack of energy, and toss in a little pinch of fatigue, and they just don't have a thing in them to keep going and snap out of their whatever funk they're in that night. They can't pull a Sixers. They can't come back from a 20-point deficit. So it starts off well enough, and then it just slowly crumbles. And if the Celtics don't come out hitting every shot in the world, then they have problems. That first quarter, this game could have been completely different, even with some of Klay Thompson's hot shooting. Jayson Tatum, 1 of 5 in the first quarter. 4 of those shots were in or right around the restricted area. He made 1, and he missed a mid-range shot. So if Tatum just makes some layups in the first quarter, if they protect the ball in that first quarter, Tatum and Brown each had a couple of turnovers, live ball turnovers, 7 turnovers in the first quarter for 10 points. Meanwhile, 2 turnovers in the first quarter for the Mavs, no points. So if the Celtics Make a couple of layups. If Jayson Tatum makes a couple of layups in the first quarter, instead of missing 4 of them or 3 of them in the restricted area, make a couple of those. Not only are you adding 4 points to the mix, you're probably taking away transition points. The Mavs had 14 transition points, fast break points in the first quarter. That's missed layups and turnovers. Make a couple of those. You knock off a couple of those baskets from the Mavs. You protect the ball. Even if you're not scoring, you're not giving up transition points. The Celtics easily could have scored 26, 27 points in that quarter. They could have prevented 6 points in that quarter. So it could have been tied or they could have been up. But no, they go into the quarter down 9. They leave the quarter down 9. And then in the second quarter, it's just more Klay Thompson. And by that point, now it's trying to keep up. And the Celtics did in the second quarter. They made a late run to cut it to 11 at halftime. That momentum heading into the half was like, okay, I feel like the Celtics maybe have something here. Derek White was awesome in the second quarter. He hit a couple of shots. No, he was awesome in the first quarter. I'm sorry. In the first quarter, he was 3 of 4, 2 of 3, 8 points in the first quarter. Second quarter is very, very balanced. Tatum gets going a little bit. Porzingis starts hitting some stuff. Brown, Derek did hit some stuff. The Celtics shot 54%, 5 of 11 from 3. They kept pace, even though Klay Thompson dropped 13. But they start the third quarter giving up a 10-2 run. And now immediately, boom, 11-point lead turns to 19. There we go. Now things start to devolve. And at that point, it was, I don't want to say it was over, but with the full picture now, you could tell like they just didn't have that thing, that energy to overcome that. So turnovers, the Celtics are really good at protecting the ball, generally speaking. So when they have a game like this, you're like, oh boy, here we go. And I asked Joe Mazzulla after the game about, you do finish at the rim, generally speaking, pretty well. You do protect the ball, generally speaking, really well. So what do you make of a game like this? What do you do about a game like this? Do you just blow it off and be like, yeah, this is going to happen? Do you like, what do you do? And he talked about the process, and it's not about where you are. Another home loss, the 10th home loss of the season. It's not about even like the makes or the misses. It's about the process of getting those shots. Okay, fine. But you have to figure something out when the team is going through, like, it's obvious what's happening. It's the same pattern of, oh, the other team's hot. The defense is kind of like iffy. You're trying to maybe, you're hoping to hit shots and win a shootout. Then you lose focus. I thought they came out with decent energy. I got into like some disagreements with people online. People were like, oh, they didn't have the effort. No, I thought the effort was there. I just didn't think the focus was there. I think they lost focus. I think they just played sloppy. Their heads weren't there. Their energy was there to start the game, but it's like anything when you're distracted, like for some reason, and maybe it's the fatigue or the, whatever, they played unfocused basketball. Like they weren't executing defensively. For example, Klay Thompson gets going, so they start to double him. He gets off the ball, and it's like pass, pass, pass. It was like a video game. I don't see things get executed like that. Like you could draw it up where the guy who gets double teamed gets off the ball. The guy who gets the ball drives and draws the defense. And then the baseline cutter just goes to the basket and they find him and it's an easy dunk. It's just very simple, basic stuff, but the Celtics don't They're not focused on that. They you know what's happening. You know what's going to happen because it's everything the Celtics try to do with Jayson Tatum. And so you double, and you should know when you double, this is going to happen, and that's going to happen, and that's going to happen if you're not focused. But there the Celtics were giving up these dunks off of double teams. If you're going to double, then you got to be prepared to rotate and help and shift and all of that stuff. But the effort was there, but it wasn't focused effort. And so guys were expending energy, but where? What were they doing? So I think when I say lack of effort, I think of it as just not trying, which is the Toronto game is the poster game for not trying, not giving a crap, getting, blow-bys and backdoor cuts and just kind of looking around like you're lost. Celtics didn't do that. They just weren't thinking about like the next thing. They were focused on what was in front of them, and that was it. They weren't thinking about, oh, this leads to that. I have to be aware of this and this. It was just very singular-minded. There's no multitasking. You have to multitask if you're playing NBA defense. That's what I mean by unfocused versus lack of effort. All right, Jayson Tatum was maybe a bit of both. Maybe he shouldn't have played this game. I'll talk about that when I come back. Today's show is brought to you by Robinhood. With Robinhood Gold, you can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. The privileges of the very privileged are no longer exclusive. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%. Plus, you also get 4% APY on your cash in non-retirement accounts. That's over 8 times the national savings average. The perks of the high net worth are now available to any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive your 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate subject to change. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to Robinhood.com/boost. Over 8 times the national average savings account interest rate claim is based on data from the FDIC as of November 18th, 2024. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Now go go sign up for. I'm just going to keep saying it. Go sign up for the new Locked On Celtics newsletter. Go to LockedOnDaily.com. Click on that Locked On Celtics logo. Put in your email address and get it delivered directly to your device in your email. Celtics, NBA, fantasy coverage, links to Celtics coverage. If you miss a podcast for some reason, it's right there in your email. You can kind of read about it, and then you can maybe decide to go listen, whatever. But it's there. The new Locked On Celtics newsletter. Get it to your email today. Jayson Tatum, I would say, just a brutally bad game for him. Overall numbers, kind of bad. 17 points, 5 of 12 shooting, 3 of 5 from 3. That was good. 4 of 5 from the line. 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 turnovers. Did have a block. Was a minus 22. That's the worst plus minus of the game. So a couple of things. When do you see Jayson Tatum have the worst plus minus? He is a plus minus monster. So when Tatum has a bad plus minus, you know it's a bad day. And how many times has Tatum shot 3 of 5? That's 60% from 3. How many times has Tatum shot that well from 3 and not put up like 10 or 11 of them? How many times has Tatum, like whenever Tatum is feeling it, he just keeps firing. And I know that this was I said it before the game. I wrote it before the game. This feels like a 60 point in the paint kind of night for the Celtics. And they had 48. They probably could have had 60 if they made some. And maybe it's just as simple as making your layups versus missing. But as Joe Mazzulla says, all the time. He said it after this game as well. A missed layup can be as damaging as a live ball turnover, because think about it. The guy's going up for the layup. Your momentum is taking you towards the baseline. Everyone else is rebounding and going the other way, which means you're inherently behind the play. Guys who miss the layup are going to be the last person down the floor or over half court very often. So you're immediately giving up an advantage. That's not even to say like the guy who misses the layup, maybe stumbles, maybe argues with the ref, maybe anything like that. Anything that takes you from sprinting all the way back makes it even worse. But those missed layups are problematic. And so Tatum missed a bunch of these layups. But I would have rather he shot the threes in this game. Like you're hitting them. Why not take more of them? And in fact, the Celtics, I know that the end of the game kind of skewed this. I'll get to that in a second. But the Celtics did hit some 3-pointers. You know, Tatum was 3 of 5. Jaylen was 3 of 4. Derek was 2 of 6. Peyton ended up 3 of 9. Hauser ended up 2 of 5. Those were kind of padded at the end. But guys were hitting. It's not one of those games where the Celtics shot 29% from 3 and the Mavs shot 15 of 33, 45.5%. That's nice. But the Celtics probably should have taken more 3-pointers. Maybe if they didn't turn the ball over 14 times, they could have gotten a few of them up. Just 89 shots for the Celtics overall, 37 from 3. Tatum, I did hear Chris Forsberg talking about like they've been fighting to get Tatum a day off, and he keeps refusing. Guys, take it out of his hands. Take it out of his hands. Just tell him you are inactive tonight. What's he going to do? What is he going to do? If you make him inactive in this game, is he going to ask for a trade? Is he going to quit on the team? No. He's going to want to play and he's going to be pissed. Yeah, sure. But he'll get over it. He's going to the All-Star game. You need to give him some extra days off here and there. This is clearly this. And I'll say this directly to Jayson Tatum. He didn't talk after the game, so I didn't get a chance to ask this, but I know he wants to play. I know he'll say people come and pay and they're wearing my jerseys and I owe it to them. But if you're going to play like this, and I know people don't go in thinking I'm going to have a bad game tonight, but if you're not feeling it, if the energy's not there, if you're off at all a little bit going into the game, or like the team is telling you, look, we need you to take a day off, you know, this would be a great day to do it, then maybe you just give in every once in a while, because I would rather have Jayson Tatum sit than have Jayson Tatum play like this, because this was just a bad game all the way around for Tatum. And if I'm Joe Mazzulla at this point, and I don't know, maybe this is the second third of the season, so the third may be a different story, but in these games, maybe you play some tricks on your team and say, you know, like there was no Drew Holiday in this game. Maybe you tell Jayson and Al, hey, you're both sitting in this one. All right. And make it so the rest of the team, make it so Jaylen has to focus, make it so Kristaps Porzingis has to focus, that these other guys have to step up, that guys that maybe don't play a whole lot will get in there and play with some extra energy. And it's a TNT game, so it makes it difficult. And I know that they're supposed to play these national televised games, but very easy to put a guy in the injury report and have him miss the game. Like that's, you know, Anthony Davis didn't play in this game, right? They're kind of manipulating his debut. So I just would like for the Celtics to find a way to get some more energy and focus into some of these games like this. But again, they're through the worst part of this season after these next few games. Jaylen, after the game, talked about how the All-Star break, and he was asked about it. He didn't bring it up. Could be a good mental reset. I think the team needs the All-Star break in a big way. So maybe on the other side of it, they get 27 games on the other side of it. Maybe they'll be fine. Maybe they'll find that energy, and that's going to be their big push, and they'll get back to being, 24-3 or something like that, or whatever. But as much as I expected this game to kind of suck one way or the other, I still hope they would win. But as much as I expected this to kind of I said it after the last game, after the last podcast, I was like, we'll see what happens against the Mavs. But I would rather some of these guys sit if they're not feeling 100%. If it's just not there, I don't care. Like the team's not going to, if they find the team, they find the team. It's not the worst thing. You just saved $19 million with the Jaden Springer trade. You can afford to pay a fine if Jayson Tatum is not feeling well, and you can put him on the injury report. I'm sure there's a legitimate injury that you can put on the injury report. Like every one of these guys, you could put him in an MRI machine right now and be like, yeah, Jason's got a knee and Jalen's got an ankle, and everybody's banged up somehow. So just use it and whatever. Just figure it out. You can manipulate the game. The Celtics bench and the new guy on the Celtics bench, Torrey Craig. That's coming up next. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. If you're looking for tickets to your next big event, maybe it's a concert, maybe it's a comedy show, maybe it's a sports game, those sports games that people love to go to. The right ticket at the right price, finding it can be a headache. Game Time Picks, never been easier. So with Game Time Picks, the app does the hard work for you. It curates the best deals, so you don't have to waste time scrolling, searching through endless ticket listings. Game Time Picks is a really cool feature. The deals are super simple to find at a great price. So the scrolling and wondering if this price is good that's done. Super deal can get you a prime seat, and the value is going to be amazing. You'll feel like you're stealing it. And the seat view feature is a game changer because before you even hit buy, you can see exactly what that view is going to look like. If you're going to a new venue, it's a great feature to have so you can kind of know what you're getting into before you buy the ticket. It's very reassuring. The best part is you're covered with Game Time's lowest price guarantee. If you find a better deal somewhere else, they'll refund you 110% of the difference. Plus, your tickets are guaranteed to be delivered on time with easy cancellation options. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKED, LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets. Lowest price guaranteed. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On NBA Game Night. This would have been my day with Jake Madison if the Celtics weren't playing, but Jake's holding it down. Go check out the whole league, the whole NBA covered on Locked On NBA Game Night, plus Locked On NBA on that same feed on the afternoons has a debate style show covering all the big topics in the league. Celtics bench, before they got in at the end and made it, the lead got up to 24, but at after was like the nine something minute mark, Joe called it, said that's it. Starters out, bench goes in. It was Nemi, Jordan Walsh, Drew Peterson, Hauser, and Pritchard, and they made a run. I mean, they were a plus 17. Like you look at the box score, and Kata, Walsh, Peterson, all plus 17. And you look at Peyton Pritchard, plus 17. He was a -3. So that was what? -20 at one point for Pritchard. Sam Hauser was a -14 at one point. Luke Cornett did not get the bump because he didn't play there at the end. He was a -20. Celtics bench did not hold up well. Spencer Dinwiddie, 22 points on 7 of 10 shooting. Max Christie, 15 points, 6 of 13 shooting. Najee Marshall, 20 points, 9 of 15 shooting. That's just brutal production that you're allowing. And again, when you talk about patterns, turnovers, missed layups, bench gets crushed. That's when the Celtics lose like this. And I say like this, I know it's a 7-point game, but really it was a 24-point game. When it was starters versus starters, but the Mavs left their starters in for, like, Kyrie Irving played almost 40 minutes in this game. Daniel Gafford played 33, almost 34 minutes. Celtics, Jaylen played 32, almost 33 minutes, but that's it. Everybody else was below 29 in the starting lineup. So when it was starters versus starters, it's a 24-point difference as far as I'm concerned. So the bench before the garbage time, and shout out to Peterson and Walsh and Kata. It does tell me that on games where you can recognize the pattern, we all recognize the pattern, it might be worth it to put Drew Peterson in to start the second quarter, or somebody else to just change the energy, change the vibe, change whatever. I love comparing the NBA to blackjack. Was having this conversation before the game. Sometimes you do the right things, you make the right plays, but you still lose. Sometimes you get lucky and you win when you shouldn't have. This is a game where when everybody's losing, anybody who's played blackjack knows this. One of the things that I'll do if the whole table sucks, I'll sit out a hand just to mix up the cards, just to change who gets which cards. I will sit out a hand. And hopefully by doing that, the who gets dealt what changes. I know it's random, but that's the thought process. And that's kind of like what you would do, like by putting Peterson in or Jordan Walsh. You can't tell me that when Klay Thompson is going completely berserk, that maybe Jordan Walsh gets a shot at him at the end of the first quarter, beginning of the second quarter. What's the worst thing that can happen? Like, he's still going nuts. So is he going to can't hit more shots? You know what I mean? So give Jordan Walsh a try. So whatever. I'm spending a lot of energy. I'm spending more energy here than the Celtics ended up expending. But in the end, it sucks. It sucks that the home crowd continues to see these losses. 16-10 at home. That's rough. If the home fans deserve better than that. But at the same time, no long road trips in the NBA playoffs. No multi-city road trips. You go to Cleveland, you stay in Cleveland. You're just chilling, right? There's no getting on a plane or anything like that. There's no travel from city to city to city. So this type of phenomenon should not be happening in the playoffs. I expect them to be better at home in the playoffs. So this is frustrating. It's bothersome, but also I'm like, it's really not that big of a deal if they play up to their capabilities. Now, playing up to their capabilities is what the Celtics are banking on. And it's part of why only Jaden Springer was traded. Brad Stevens, talking before the game, kind of outlined that and said the only, they knew going into the trade deadline that was going to be the only move that they ended up making. He called it a little boring on trade deadline day because no one was calling the Celtics. They knew that the Celtics weren't going to get involved in anything. They knew the Celtics weren't going to trade any of their guys who made any significant money because those are all guys that are part of the rotation, a part of the rotation that they trust to play better. And so they traded Jaden Springer. And then it's funny, Brad sounded like a guy who knew what he was going to do because he said when he was talking to us, we're going to bring in a wing. He said that pretty definitively. We're looking to bring in a wing. And he said, we're going to act pretty quickly. So we're like, okay, they have some ideas. And then during the game, Shams breaks the news. Celtics signed Torrey Craig. Oh, okay. So on top of everything, at halftime, I'm writing a story about how the Celtics signed Torrey Craig. Look, he's a big wing. He's defensive minded. He can hit some shots. He's 34, but he's not going to be asked to do a ton. He's going to, when he gets in the game, he's going to defend. He's going to be part of I think a functional defense, and he's going to hit shots. He's going to take shots when he's open. He can put it on the floor and get to the rim. He's a good basketball player. He is a good basketball player. They will save a lot of money because they're going to be paying him the minimum. And so that gets taxed differently and paid differently. And so that's going to be very helpful to them financially. And frankly, he's going to have more of an impact, I think, in the last 27 games than Jaden Springer had in the first, he didn't really have any impact in the first 27. So in the last few weeks. So it's a good signing. It's something that has been kind of tossed around. I had talked about Kyle Anderson, but I think Miami is keeping Kyle Anderson because they just put out a graphic during the game. They're, welcome, like whatever they said, the next generation, the new crew, whatever it was. So they put out like the Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, I forget who else was in that picture, but if you're putting out a Photoshop of him on your official feed, I don't think you're buying him out. So Torrey Craig became the leader in the clubhouse. Maybe he always was, but it's a good signing. Obviously, buyout, no risk, minimum contract. I expect him to become, I think, maybe not an everyday part of the rotation, but I think a regular part of the rotation. I think he could have helped in this game. I think the Celtics probably could have gone small against Dallas and been more effective. I don't think double bigs worked against Dallas. I don't think Luke Cornett worked against Dallas, so they probably could have gone small. If you had Torrey Craig and put him out there and have Jayson Tatum at the center, that might have worked better in this game. But overall, solid, right? They traded Springer. They saved a bunch of money. They now have Torrey Craig, and they're probably going to keep that last roster spot open unless something happens and they decide they need to sign somebody. Brad did not make it sound like he was going to upgrade any contracts. So anybody thinking about Drew Peterson or JD Davison or, any kind of two-way upgrade, I don't think that's happening. It might, but I don't think that's happening. That's not the read I got from Brad Stevens. So, all right, look, Celtics stunk against Dallas. Dallas played great, shot great, all of that. They deserve to win. Celtics deserve to lose. We'll see what happens now. I don't know when Torrey Craig will be available. Maybe against New York, maybe against Miami. Those are the next two games. New York, Saturday night, 8:30 p.m. start on ABC. I will be here after that with a podcast for you. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts. You can watch the show on YouTube. I would love it if you got into the comment section. Share your thoughts on Torrey Craig. Share your thoughts on the game. All of that stuff. And share the podcast. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.